KP's Video News, baby. You know what time it is.
That's right, it's time for another episode. We're going to get busy. We're going to get busy right away with this. We got the district attorney, ex-officer in Harding raid may have provided false evidence. 69 convictions could be overturned. This is coming out of Houston, Texas. And the Harding raid was executed on a street called Harding. Okay, here we go. Harris County prosecutors announced Wednesday at least 69 convictions may be overturned due to possible false evidence from former Houston police officer Gerald Goins. Prosecutors filed several motions requesting judge appoint lawyers to the evidence in each case so they can begin the process of having the convictions overturned. These lawyers are being tasked with reviewing whether the evidence Goins provided was the key in convicting their client. If so, the defense can decide whether or not to request a new trial. Most of the cases involve delivery of a controlled substance, and the DA's office said nearly all resulted in imprisonment. The sentences range from a few months in county jail to 4 years in a state correctional facility. In all cases, prosecutors said Goins was the sole witness to the alleged offense. Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg has decided all cases from 2008 to 2019 in which Goins played a substantial role most likely had convictions determined through the use of false evidence. We need to clear people convicted solely on the word of a police officer who we can no longer trust, Ogg said. Goins' cases have been under close review since the deadly Harding Street raid in which officers acted on a warrant secured using false evidence from Goins. So this is a bad cop, Goins, down there in Houston, Texas, and he's not only caused people to go to jail, but it was also a case that's under review in which he provided false evidence and they created a raid on a street called Harding in Houston, and so from 2008 all the way to 2019, just about all of his cases are going to be overturned. Any cases that he was the sole witness. And here we go with this one. In this day and age, believe it or not, the Senate had to vote to get rid of lynching. This is 2002. So, but you had 4 Republican senators, well, take that, 3 Republican senators and 1 independent senator that actually voted against over getting rid of lynching. And I will make sure I tell you those names at the end of this. I'm going to make sure I repeat those names so you can know the names of those people. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you the names of them before I even get started. Ted Yoho of Florida, Louis Gohmert of Texas, Thomas Massey of Virginia, and Justin Amash of Michigan. That's Florida, Texas, Virginia, and Michigan. Those are 4 senators that refused to, actually they voted against getting rid of lynching. Why in this day and age would anybody want to go against that? Go figure. So this is Black History Month. So this is history that's being made today that affects black people, and not only anybody really that would be lynched by some racists. Historic legislation would have made lynching a federal crime, passed the House by near unanimous consent today, with 4 representatives opposing it. 3 Republicans voted against the measure. GOP members Ted Yoho of Florida, Louis Gohmert of Texas, Thomas Massey of Virginia, the chamber's lone independent Justin Amash of Michigan, who famously switched from Republican to Independent over his support for impeaching the D.C. dunce, also voted no. 16 members did not vote. The proposal, however, received broad partisan support and passed, listen at these numbers, 410 in favor against 4 that opposed. 410 people had enough sense to try to get rid of lynching and make it a federal crime. Republicans accuse the legislation of being an overreach by the federal government and encroaching on states' rights. Well, what about the human rights of the people that's getting lynched? In a statement to Newsweek, Massey said he disagreed with part of the bill that would add lynching to the current criminal civil rights violations. The Constitution specifies only a handful of federal crimes and leaves the rest to the individual states to prosecute, he said. In addition, this bill expands current federal hate crime laws. A crime is a crime, and all victims deserve equal justice. Adding enhanced penalties for hate tends to endanger other liberties, such as freedom of speech. So that means that this person, Thomas Massey of Virginia, believes that adding lynching to a current criminal civil rights violations violates the rights and tends to endanger other liberties such as freedom of speech. What about freedom of life, man? Come on now, freedom of speech. What about freedom to live? Man, these people are fucking idiots, man. You guys got to get out and vote. You got to get out and vote. And remember these names so you can get them out. Yoho, although he'll continue to condemn the horrific act of lynching, an advocate for perpetrators to receive the harshest penalty under law, also felt the text took away too much power from states and was redundant. Wow. These people are just totally stupid. The bill today is an overreach of federal government and encroaches on the principle of federalism. The retiring lawmaker told, I'm glad you're retiring. Glad you're retiring. Told Newsweek in a statement, hate crimes fall under the jurisdiction of states, which has led to 46 states producing various hate crime statutes. And so that means there's 4 states that don't have hate crime statutes. So I wonder which four that is. Wow. The officers of Gorman and Amash did not immediately respond for requests. They refused to even address why they didn't vote or why they voted the way they did. Previous attempts by Congress since the 1900s to pass similar legislation repeatedly failed, but the bill would head to the D.C. DUNCE's desk for approval. The Senate approved it by unanimous consent in February 2019. If it becomes law, which it's expected to do, violators would face substantial fines and jail time. Between 1877 and 1950, the Equal Justice Initiative estimates more than 4,000 black people were lynched in a dozen states: Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. Just say all the southern states. The bill, the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, was written after the 1955 racist murder of a black teenager in Mississippi, which spawned civil rights action. The legislation will not erase the stain of lynching and racist violence, but it will help shine the light of truth on injustice of the past so that we can heal our nation and build a better, safer future for all our children. And that's what House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said on the floor. So I'm telling you, man, this is something that should have been done. Actually, lynching laws never should have been enacted in the first place. They never should have had lynching laws on the books. So, hey, anti-lynching laws should have been on the books from day one. So here we are 400 years later, and finally they decided to vote on this. I'm telling you, man. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
KPVIDEO News.